How did you find the bench buck, which is what you called your 196 and 3/8 inch deer? How did
Uh,
you find him originally?
I, postseason scouting every year. As soon as the season's over with, as soon as I got days off, me and my wife or me and buddies, whatever, we'll take off and walk like the areas I've already know about, and then walk some new areas. I'll take off, start walking, and I'll take trail cameras with me and put them out and where I find a big track, like in a pinch or an edge, and most of the time I'm looking for a place that I can hunt, because I really, I'm getting data is one thing, but getting data on a place where you can actually get there and hunt, making sure I got access, then put a camera up, and I won't check it till the next year and see what comes through. Well, I had a camera picture of him in daylight. Probably he's about 4.5 years old in November, and I had a couple of them in February, and he looked pretty rough. He had all the stickers and stuff. He was real skinny and was still carrying his antlers. And boy, I thought, man, he'd be a nice one if he lives. And I showed a picture to the biologist, and so I kind of set up for him next year, hoping he'd be alive. And I'd missed him by one day. He'd come by the day after I hunted, following 3 does at 9 o'clock in the morning. But his body would got built back good, but he probably may have been a 116th deer, which I would if I'd have seen him. I would have tried to kill him anyway, but he didn't have all the stickers. He had one or two splits. But the next year, which I didn't know about it, I didn't know I had any pictures of him until after I killed him. But I still waited till that time that I had him in daylight. The camera proved or showed me that he wasn't daylight until the first week of November. So the first day I was off was November 5th, on the last day of the muzzleloader hunt. I went down there, and about 9:30, a 6 or 7 point that's pretty good sized buck. Most people with a muzzleloader would have shot him. He come by bow range, 20 yards, and just slipping around eating wild oats. And up on the bench was above a creek crossing in between a bluff gap that goes to a blowdown bedding area. And that's one thing like I do that I kind of left out is I try to put multiple things together from a big picture of why they're crossing there, and that just like I said, he was coming across the creek crossing using this bench that was thick, going to a bluff gap, going to a point that had a bunch of blowdown, just nasty stuff that's kind of hidden. Well, anybody out that 6 or 7 point come easing by, and then about 15 minutes later, I had something catch the corner of my eye, and I could just see his huge side right when it stepped behind some big old like Calcutta bushes or this big old leafy bush tree, and just all I could see was the rear end. And he stood back there forever, and I got positioned, and it took him, it seemed like 5 minutes, but it probably wasn't 30 seconds for him to ease out. And I had to quick cross there behind his shoulder and squeeze. And I could see him mule kick and took off. And if I don't see him die or hear him die, I'll wait an hour. So it took me a little while. I was getting nervous, but anyway, I gathered my stuff up because I had to pee a little bit or something, and then end up knocking the dang bottle off, making a bunch of racket about 30 minutes after I'd shot. And so, well, if I already made enough noise, I just well eased down there and see if I found blood. And anyway, I snuck down, couldn't find blood where I thought I shot at. I was off by about 30 yards and started doing a little bit of grid stuff. And then I found it and tracked it to, good blood. Tracked it where he run into a tree, and he knocked bark off of that white oak tree. Just you could see time marks in the tree. I was like, golly. Then about 30 yards past that, I could see a deer laying, turned back facing me, and I could see that side that had all that hand sticker on it, and then tears started coming down because you could just tell he was a huge deer laying there, and it just, getting up there looking at him, and knew that it was the one I'd had on camera. And I've been running cameras off and on for, back when they had film cameras, so. And that's the biggest deer I've ever killed. I had on camera. It's only like the third or fourth deer that I've killed I've ever had on camera. Most of the time I've killed a different deer. So, but I was so, to accomplish that. And kind of another thing was I wanted to kill him with a muzzleloader because I'd already killed a record buck one with a bow and a record buck one with a rifle in the same piece of public land. And I thought, I don't know of anybody else that would have killed 3 different weapons with him, the record buck. And I told everybody, I'm going to try to kill him that muzzleloader. And I told that muzzleloader the whole season anyway, even after I killed him, and I killed a 10 point. But that's what I wanted to do, and it worked out just perfect on the first time that I went down there, and I couldn't believe that. And that just, all the years of trying to get a big buck because we just didn't have them for a long time. And everybody's killing. I've killed a bunch of spikes and other deer in my career, so I'm just trying to learn to hunt. So, but whenever that all that coming into play, I just couldn't believe it. Just tore up and just amazed that a deer could get that big, live that long on public land. It's pretty heavily pressured. Was just amazing, and I was able to put it together in daylight because I've had them on camera. We had one we had on camera that we knew was 7.5 years old, and we never seen the sucker ever. And we would get daylight pictures of him every year, and he'd always knew us better than we knew him, I guess, because we'd never seen him, and he just disappeared, died, I guess. But it's just so hard to get a deer past 4.5 years old in daylight on public land, especially down here. I mean, it's nearly impossible. They just learn so much. They learn by smell, sight, and hear so much stuff in that 4 or 5 years that they just know you better than them most of the time. Because they stay nocturnal. I'm sure they get out there and they lay there and say, all right, everybody, it's night time. I can go around and see who all's coming to my area, know where they coming from, then stage myself where I can wait on them when the season gets here, and then just just play with them, have fun with them, just make them think they're gonna get me, but they ain't, because I know them better than they know me. So
Yeah.
to do that, it just makes you feel good because it's tough. The South is to me is a little bit harder than the North because our deer, especially our mature bucks, once they get their bodies up, they don't have to eat, in the day like a northern deer. They don't get that cold. So once they get their bodies up, they just lay up at night, or till night, and then they can gather up, graze a little bit, and swallow a bunch of acorns whole, and then go bed up and bring them up, regurgitate them all day and eat. So we're up north, when it gets cold, they got to maintain their body heat and stuff, so they got to eat a bit more than ours do. So it's just so hard to make them get up in daylight. A doe might bring them, or somebody might kick one up. And it's tough.
Yeah, and so when you shot that buck, was that during the rut?
No, it was a pre-rut pretty much. It was November 5th. Most time they've had early conceptions date like November 13th in this area, but most of the time the extreme action is to be like around Thanksgiving to the first week of December, and I kind of think that is like the initial rut is more like a lull. They get with the initial does. You don't hardly see much unless you're right there where they at. But it was pretty much pre-rut.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't sure as far as like I know how Alabama has so many different ruts. So I knew you said November, but I wasn't sure if that was the rut or not. But no, that did you have pictures of them that year that you killed them? Okay.
Yeah, well, I had a camera right there in that general area where I shot him at, and I had another camera like a quarter mile away, and that camera was the only daylight picture of him I had of him. It was in September. I had a couple more nighttime pictures of him, and he actually come by that camera that day, but he was below it. That 6 or 7 point, I got him on camera. I had a picture of him when he come by, but that big buck stayed below about another 20 yards down, so he's about 40, 45 yards away when I shot him. So, but he just stayed out of. That's another thing about them. They don't hardly ever travel the same exact point of a trail. They be up or down. They're sharp about where they do things.